channel. My name is Jacinta. It is your first time here. Thank you for stopping by. So in this one, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I made this Ankara gown you see me putting on right now. If it's what you're interested in learning, kindly watch till the end, and please do wait to subscribe and hit on the notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. So without wasting much time, let's get started with the tutorial. So guys, this is the Ankara fabric I'm going to be using for this tutorial, and I have 6 yards, complete 6 yards here, but I'm not going to be using all of them. I'm going to be cutting 4 yards, but if you're of a bigger body size, you're going to be needing about 5 yards. So what I'm going to be using is 4 yards of Ankara fabric, and I also have my lining of 2 yards, and this wording that I'm going to be using for the padding of the bust area. You can use foreign cup if you wish. Starting off with the pattern drafting, from the tip of my pattern paper, I'm going to mark 2 inches downwards, then I'm going to square across, and I will label that line my shoulder line or my top line. After labeling my top line, I'm going to divide my shoulder measurement by 2, and I'll mark it on my top line. So just go ahead and divide your shoulder measurement by 2. That is half of your shoulder, and mark it on your top line starting from the center front. On that point where I marked half of my shoulder measurement, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches for my shoulder slope. Then I'll mark a basic neckline of 3 inches by 3 inches. Afterwards, I'll connect with a curve ruler, and I will also connect from my neck width to the 1.5 inches I marked downwards for my shoulder slant. After connecting my shoulder slant, I'm going to mark my armhole level. To do this, I'll place my tape on the 1.5 inches I came down by, and I'll mark 7.5 inches downwards. If you have not gotten my size chart, I'm going to be dropping the link in the description box below. It contains all the measurements you need for the drafting of an outfit from size 6 to 16. After marking the 7.5 inches armhole level, I'm going to connect it to my shoulder slant with a straight line. After that, on this point where the armhole level ended, I'm going to extend it, and that will be my chest line. After extending it, I'm going to find the midpoint of this armhole level line, and I'll make a mark there, then come in by ½ inch and also make a mark. After that, I'm going to mark quarter of my bust circumference on my chest line. That is my bust circumference divided by 4. I'm going to mark it on my chest line. Then I'll use my curved ruler to connect from my shoulder slant to the ½ inch I came in by to the quarter of my bust circumference that I marked on my chest line, just like the way I'm doing in the video. After marking my armhole curve, I'm going to place my tape on my top line, and I'm going to make a mark at 10 inches, which is my bust line, and also 16 inches, which is my half length. Then I'll square across, and I'll go ahead and label these lines. After marking my bust line and my half length, I'll place my tape on my half length, and I'll measure downwards to 9 inches, which is my hip line. So I'll make a mark there, and I'll square across, and I will label that line my hip line, and I will also mark my full length. Sorry, the camera did not capture it. I was actually marking my full length here, but I didn't know that the camera was not capturing that part, that side. So what I did was I placed my tape on my half length, and I measure and I marked downwards to my full length. My full length is 4 inches above my knee line. My knee line is 25 inches, and I measured 4 inches upwards from my knee line. That was how I got my full length. I made a mark there, and I squared across, and I also labeled that my full length, as you can see. After marking my full length, I'm going to mark my darts now. To do this, I place my tape on my half length starting from the center front, and I'm going to mark 3.5 inches, which is my nipple to nipple measurement. So I made a mark at the 3.5 inches on my half length, and I will also make a mark of 3.5 inches on my bust line, even if it is up to 6 inches upwards from my half length. So I'm going to make a mark at I'm going to make 3.5 inches on my bust line, and I'll also do the same on my hip line. Then I'll use my straight ruler to connect these 3 points. After connecting with a straight line, I'll place my tape on my half length, and I'll measure 6 inches downwards, and I'll make a mark there. On my half length, I'll come in by ½ inch on both sides, and I'll use my ruler to connect from the dart on my bust line to the ½ inch I came in by to the 6 inches I marked downwards, just like the way you see me doing. I'm going to do this on both sides. After marking my dart, I'm going to draw my bust circle now. To do this, I'll place my tape on my dart of the bust line, and I'm going to mark 3.5 inches, which is my nipple to nipple measurement, round like this, with a dotted line, just like the way you see me doing like this. And afterwards, I'm going to connect it. But if you have your compass, you just place it on that dot line, and you're just going to draw your bust circle. After drawing my bust circle, I'm going to mark my under bust. To do this, I'll place my tape on my half length, and I'll measure upwards to my under bust circle. What I have is 2.5 inches, so I'm going to mark that 2.5 inches like this, and I will square across. Then I will label that my under bust line. After marking my under bust line, the next thing I'm going to do is to tighten my under bust. To do this, I'll place my tape on my under bust line, and I'll come in by ½ inch on both sides, just like the way you see me doing. Then after that, I will connect it to this bust point, and then I'm going to connect it also to my half length like this. After tightening my under bust, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the midpoint of my shoulder slant. So I'll divide my shoulder slant into two. I will make a mark there, and I'll use a curved part of my ruler to connect it to my bust point like this. Then after that, I'm going to mark quarter of my body circumference, starting with my bust circumference. I'll divide my bust circumference by 4, and I'll mark it on my bust line, and I'll add allowance of 2 inches. I'll do the same on my under bust line. I'll divide my under bust circumference by 4, and I'll mark it there. And I'm going to replace this dart by the side, and I'll add extra 2 inches allowance. Same goes with the waistline and hip line, and also the full length. On my half length, I'll divide my waist circumference by 4, and I will also replace the 1 inch dart, and I'll add extra 2 inches allowance. Then on my hip line, I'll divide my hip circumference by 4 also, and I'll add extra 2 inches allowance. On my full length, so my not ½ inch from whatever I marked on my hip line. After connecting the line, I will extend my dart line, this dart line, to the full length. So my full length line, I will come in by 3.5 inches, and I'll use my straight ruler to connect from my hip line, the dart line on my hip line, to this dart line on the full length like this. Now for the front main neckline, I'm going to place my tape on my bust line, and I'll come upwards by 2 inches. This depends totally on what you want. You're already seeing your bust circle, so you can easily determine where you want the neckline to stop. You can easily determine where you want the neckline to stop, if you want it to be showing some parts of your bust or not. So if you don't want it to be showing your bust, you can come upwards a little bit more. If you want it to be showing more, you can go down. Bust circle, you can determine how the neckline is going to be at after sewing it. So I've marked where I want mine to be, and I'm going to connect that to this armhole line like this. And I will also connect from my armhole curve to this place, because it's not going to be having any sleeve. After that, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my side dart. To do this, I'll place my tape on my bust line, and I'll come downwards by 2 inches. This 2 inches is the difference between the front half length and the back half length. So I'm going to mark 2 inches downwards from my bust line by the side, and I'll connect it to my nipple point. So I'm cutting this out so that I'll have space on my table, and I'll be able to close this side dart. To close the side dart, I'm going to make this 2 inches line that I marked to meet my bust line like this. I'm going to make it to meet the bust line like this. I'll press it down so that when I open it, I will have the center line. So this is what I'm talking about. I have the center line now, and I'm going to slash it open like this. I'll also cut open this shoulder line up to the bust point, so that I'll be able to close the side darts without stress. So I'll just close the side darts now, and I'll use my masking tape to hold it down like this. So I'm done drafting this front pattern. The next thing I'm going to do now is to cut it. So guys, watch carefully and see how I did the cutting. Then for the drafting of the back pattern, I'm gonna head to mark 2 inches downwards from the tip of my pattern paper. Then on this top line, I'm going to mark half of my shoulder measurement, and I'll mark 3 inches for my neck width, and I'll also mark 3 inches downwards. On this shoulder measurement, I'll come down by 1.5 inches for my shoulder slope, and I'll connect the 3 inches I marked for my neck width to the 1.5 inches shoulder slope like this. Then after that, I'm going to mark my armhole level of 7.5 inches. After marking the 7.5 inches, I'll connect with a straight ruler. Then on that point where the armhole level ended, I'll extend it and it will become my chest line. Just like what we did for the front armhole, I'm going to mark half of this straight line, and I'm going to come in by ½ inch. Then I will also mark quarter of my bust circumference on my chest line. Then use my armhole curve to connect from my shoulder slope to the ½ inch I came in by to quarter of my bust circumference that I marked on my chest line. After that, I will place my tape on my top line, and I will input all my vertical measurements. I'll mark my bust line, which is 10 inches, and I will mark my half length. Remember that this half length, the back half length is not the same with the front half length. For this back half length, I marked 14 inches. I initially made a mistake at the back half length, so I had to cancel it. So the back half length is 14 inches, not 16 inches. Then I marked my hip line and my full length. So I'm going to square these lines, and I will also label them. Next thing I'm going to do now is to mark the back dart. To do this, I'll place my tape on my half length, and I'll mark 3.5 inches inwards. I'll also mark 3.5 inches on my hip line. Then I will place my tape on my half length, and I will mark 6 inches upwards. Then on that point, I'm going to mark 3.5 inches. Then I'll use my straight ruler to connect these 3 points. On my half length, I'll come in by ½ inch on both sides. Then I'll place my tape on my half length and come down by 6 inches downwards. Then use my ruler to connect the 6 inches I marked upwards to the ½ inch I came in by to the 6 inches I marked downwards, just like you see me doing in the video. And I will also extend this dart line to the full length, just like how we did it for the front pattern. After that, I'll go back to my shoulder slant, and I'll mark half of my shoulder slant, then connect it to my dart line like this. And the next thing I'm going to do is to impute my vertical measurement. On my bust line, I'm going to mark quarter of my bust circumference, and I'll do the same on my chest line, and I'll add extra 2 inches allowance also. On my half length, I'm going to divide my waist circumference by 4, and I'll mark it on my waistline. Then I will replace this 1 inch dart, and I'll also mark 2 inches for my sewing allowance. Then for my hip, I'm dividing my hip circumference by 4 inches, and I'm adding extra 2 inches sewing allowance. Then on my full length, whatever I got on my hip line, I'm going to minus ½ inch, and I'll mark that on my full length. Then I'll use my ruler to connect these points. Then for the back neckline, I marked 2 inches upwards from my bust line, and I'm going to connect it to my armhole, just like what we did for the front neckline. I'll also connect from my armhole to my chest line. On my half length, I'll come in by ½ inch for zipper bulge, and I'll connect it to my neckline upwards and downwards to my hip line like this. After connecting it, I'll go ahead and cut it out. And take note that this upper part now that you've cut out, I'm going to be using it for the sleeve, so you not throw it away. Now for the sleeve, that is that singlet sleeve that the inner gown has. I'm going to be cutting it from this upper part that I've cut out. Remember I told you not to throw it away after cutting it out. I'm going to mark 1 inch from this shoulder slant. You can see what I'm doing. And I will also mark 1 inch downwards and I'll connect it like this. I'm doing this for both the front and the back. After marking that 1 inch, I will cut it out and I'll also do the same for the back. I'll do exactly what I did for this front. I'll do the same for the back pattern. So after cutting the back one, I'm going to use my masking tape to hold it together like this, making sure that the shoulders align, and I'll go ahead and cut it on my fabric. While cutting it, I'm going to add 1/2 inch round for joining, and I'll be cutting two of these for the two sleeves. Now for the kimono, I'm going to be cutting it directly on my fabric, and I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into two. On this upper part, I have marked half of my shoulder, which is 8 inches, and I'm going to mark a neck width of 3 inches and neck depth of 1.5 inches, and I'll connect it with a curve. From the point where I marked 8 inches, I'm going to mark my sleeve length. The sleeve length depends totally on what you want. So because this is a cut together, we're not going to be separating the sleeve from this kimono. So placing my tape on that 8 inches line, I'm going to mark 11 inches for my sleeve length. After marking my sleeve length, I'll place my tape on my shoulder and I'll mark 10 inches downwards, which is my bust line, and I will swear across. I'm going to mark quarter of my hip circumference on the bust line, and I will add in extra 3 inches allowance for ease. Then for the wideness of the sleeve, I'm going to mark 9 inches downwards, and I'll connect it to the bust line. After that, I'm going to mark the full length of this kimono. So go ahead and mark your full length, and I will also add 1 inch for folding of the down part. Then on that full length line, I'm going to imprint the measurements I marked on my bust line, and I will connect with a straight line. After connecting it, I'll cut it out, and I'll use it to cut the second one. Remember I folded this into two, not into four. So after cutting this one out, I'll use it to cut the second one. So I've gone ahead to cut the second one. So this is it. I'll open it up. What I'll do now is to place it front facing front, and I'll join the shoulders using 1/2 inch. So I was done joining the shoulder. What I'm going to do now is to cut the front neckline and open up the center front. To do this, I will place it like to making sure that the shoulders are together like this. Since both of them are the same, I'm going to choose one part as my front. On my bust line, I'll come in by 1 inch. Then I'll connect that 1 inch to my neck width like this. It will be in form of a V neckline. Then I'll also mark 1 inch downwards to the full length and connect with a straight line. Then I'll go ahead and cut this out. After cutting it out, I'll open it up and I'll have it looking like this. What I will do now is to fold this sleeve using 1 inch. Then I'll place it like this, the way it was before I opened it up, and I'm going to arrange it very well. And I'm going to take the measurements from this back neckline like this up to the opening on the front side, just like the way you see me doing. Just carefully take this measurement. You can do it 2 times to be sure of the correct measurement, to be sure of the correct measurement. After taking the measurement, I'll get a piece of this fabric and I'll mark the measurement I got. Remember, you're going to place this fabric on fold, and the wideness is going to be 4 inches. Then I'll fold it into two like this and join it to this kimono using 1/2 inch. So starting from this down part, I'll place it like this. I'll sew it like this all the way around like this using 1/2 inch. So I was done joining it, and this is what it looks like. So what I'll do now is open press the seams and to weave the rough edges. Then to add the fringes, I'll fold the down part into two like this. Then I'll place these fringes on top and I'll sew it. I'll do the same for the sleeve. Then for this inner gown, I'm gonna head to cut the fabric and the lining. So I wanted the fabric to be part of the lining, so I added extra inches to the full length. As you can see, I reduced the main lining. So this is the center back and the side back, and this is the center front and the side front. I added half inch for joining. Then for the padding of the bust area, I'm going to mark 1 inch downwards from this bust circle like this. Following the bust circle, I'll first of all trace it on a paper, then I'll place it on my wadding and cut it out. After cutting it on my wadding, I'll go and iron it to my main fabric. Then I'll join it using half inch. I'll also join the lining. So I was done joining it and this is what it looks like. I'm also gone ahead to turn my sleeve. So what I will do now is to attach these straps using half inch. I'll mark 1 inch from this joining and I'll do the same for the back. So I've joined the strap for the front side. To join it to the back side, I'm going to place it like this and I'll sew it using half inch. So I was done sewing it and this is what it looks like. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to turn it using with my lining. To turn it, I'll bring this back side in, then I'm going to place this lining like this. I'm going to place this lining like this. The back side is going to be inside this front before placing the lining. Then I'll go over to my machine now and use half inch to sew it round. I'm going to be leaving a part of the side open so that I can turn it to the right side after sewing. I was done joining the lining and this is the side that was open. You can see this small side. I'm going to turn it to the right side from here. After turning it to the right side, you can see the back side. I'm going to also turn this back side using the lining. And you do it exactly the same way you did for the front. You take the front part inside and then you are going to sew it right round, leaving a small part of the side open. So I was done joining my lining. I'm ironing it so that everything will look neat. After ironing it, I'm going to use half inch to sew the zip side and I will go ahead and then attach my zip. Then this dress is not going to be having opening because it's short, it's above the knee, it's not going to be having any slit. So I'll just go ahead and attach my zip and I will close both sides using 1.5 inches because we added 2 inches while drafting and we used half inch to join the lining. So what we'll have left is 1.5 inches. So after attaching my zip, I'm going to close both sides using 1.5 inches. And that will be all for the cutting and sewing of this gown. If you find this video helpful and you've learned something new, please like and drop a comment and encourage me by hitting on the subscribe button and also turn on your notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new tutorial. Thanks for watching and see you guys in my next tutorial.